You know that feeling, don't you? You're sitting across from him. The silence in the room is so loud it's practically screaming, and you can see the tension coiled in his shoulders, the tightness around his jaw. You see the storm behind his eyes, and so you ask the question you already know the answer to. Hey, is everything okay? And then it comes. The three words that build a wall faster than any brick and mortar ever could. I'm fine. And you know it's not true. You know he is anything but fine. But the conversation is over before it even began. He's shut the door, locked it, and thrown away the key, leaving you on the outside, wondering what you did wrong. This is one of the most confusing and painful dynamics in modern relationships. You're trying to connect, to offer support, to simply understand the inner world of this person you care about, but you're met with a void. It's easy to jump to conclusions. Maybe he doesn't trust you. Maybe he doesn't care enough to let you in. Maybe, just maybe, there's nothing going on inside at all. But what if that's not the story? What if his silence isn't a sign of indifference, but a sign of a prison? An emotional prison he was placed in as a boy, with walls so high and so thick he doesn't even know how to begin to look for an escape. To understand the man who can't express his feelings, we first have to understand the masks he wears to hide the fact that he's trapped. First, there's the most common mask, the Stoic. This is the man who defaults to logic, reason, and a kind of detached problem-solving. When you come to him with a feeling, you're sad, you're anxious, you're overwhelmed, he doesn't meet you on that emotional level. Instead, he treats your feeling like a broken appliance. He wants to fix it. He'll offer a 5-point plan, a list of solutions, a rational explanation for why you shouldn't be feeling what you're feeling. He'll say things like, "There's no reason to get upset," or, "Let's just look at this logically." To you, it feels dismissive, like he's invalidating your entire experience. It feels cold. But here's the critical thing to understand. He's not doing this because he's heartless. He's doing it because, in his world, that's what you do with feelings. He was taught, either directly or indirectly, that emotions like sadness and fear are not experiences to be shared and held. They are problems to be eliminated as quickly as possible. To him, dwelling on a feeling is inefficient, unproductive, even a bit indulgent. He is showing you love in the only way he knows how. By trying to solve the problem he thinks is causing you pain. He sees the emotion as a symptom, and he's trying to cure the disease. He doesn't realize that sometimes the only cure needed is for someone to simply sit with you in the feeling itself. He can't offer you empathy because no one ever modeled that for him. They only ever offered him solutions or told him to stop feeling. Then, you have a completely different presentation of the same core problem. This is the angry volcano. This is the man who seems to have only two emotional settings: a flat, neutral calm, and explosive, disproportionate rage. He doesn't seem to get sad, or scared, or ashamed, or disappointed. He just gets angry. The Wi-Fi is slow. He's furious. Someone cuts him off in traffic. He's enraged for the next 20 minutes. You ask him to do a simple chore he forgot. It can trigger a defensive, aggressive outburst that feels completely out of scale with the situation. It's terrifying and confusing to be on the receiving end of this. It feels like walking on eggshells, never knowing what tiny thing will set off the explosion. You start to believe he's just an angry person. But what you're seeing isn't actually anger in its pure form. You're seeing a funnel. In the world he was raised in, anger was likely the only emotion that was permissible for a boy to show. Crying was for girls. Fear was weakness. Shame was pathetic. But anger? Anger was strong. Anger meant power. Anger was masculine. So his emotional system learned a powerful and destructive trick. It learned to reroute everything into that one single acceptable channel. His frustration about being stuck in his career doesn't come out as quiet disappointment. It comes out as rage at the toaster for burning his toast. His fear of not being a good enough partner or father doesn't come out as vulnerable insecurity. It comes out as fury over a misplaced set of keys. He isn't an angry man. He's a deeply sad or scared or ashamed man who never learned any other way to let the pressure out. The anger is just the sound the volcano makes when the immense pressure of all those other forbidden feelings finally becomes too much to bear. Finally, there's the man who isn't a wall or a volcano. He's a ghost. This is the avoider. The moment a conversation starts to get emotionally deep or intense, he vanishes. Not always literally, though sometimes he will suddenly have to go for a run, or fix something in the garage, or he'll get a call he absolutely has to take. More often, the vanishing is mental. You'll be pouring your heart out, and you'll look over and see that his eyes have glazed over. He's scrolling on his phone. He's turned the TV on. He suddenly changes the subject to something completely mundane, like what's for dinner or if the lawn needs mowing. He just checks out. He disengages so completely that you feel like you're talking to yourself. This isn't necessarily a calculated, malicious act designed to hurt you. It's a defense mechanism, a deeply ingrained flight response. For the avoider, emotional intimacy feels like danger. Somewhere along the line, he learned that intense feelings, his or someone else's, lead to bad outcomes. They lead to fighting, to yelling, to someone getting hurt, to overwhelming chaos he feels utterly unequipped to handle. He never got the tools or the training to navigate that territory, so when he senses he's approaching it, his subconscious mind screams, "Abort!" Distraction becomes his shield. His phone, his hobbies, his work. These are all safe harbors where he feels competent and in control. He retreats into them, not to punish you, but to save himself from a feeling of complete and utter helplessness. The Stoic tries to solve the feeling. The volcano erupts with the feeling. But the avoider, he simply runs from it, hoping that if he ignores it long enough, it will just go away on its own. These masks, the Stoic, the volcano, the avoider, they aren't chosen. They are forged. They are the end result of a long, invisible process of conditioning that starts so early, most men don't even remember it happening. It begins with a simple, devastating phrase, whispered or shouted on playgrounds and in bedrooms across the world. Boys don't cry. This isn't just a command. It's the first lesson in an emotional curriculum that teaches a young boy that his inner world is fundamentally wrong. He learns that his feelings of sadness are a source of shame. His fears are a sign of weakness. His need for comfort is a burden on those around him. And so, he learns to perform. He performs strength. He performs indifference. He performs control. He learns that love and acceptance are conditional, and the condition is silence. Think about the boy who would become the Stoic. He might have been a sensitive child in a family that was overwhelmed or simply didn't value emotional expression. When he cried, he was told to man up or get over it. When he was scared, he was told there was nothing to be afraid of. He learned very quickly that his feelings were inconvenient for the people he relied on for survival. So he made a deal with himself. If I just stop having these inconvenient feelings, if I become logical and rational and easy, then I will be safe. I will be loved. He wasn't born a Stoic. He became one to survive. He amputated parts of his own heart to be a good boy. And now, as an adult, he doesn't understand why you're asking him to feel something in a limb that's been gone for decades. He's not withholding from you. He genuinely doesn't know how to access it himself. Now, consider the boy who would become the angry volcano. He didn't learn to suppress his feelings. He learned to transform them. He may have grown up in a home where the only emotion that got any respect was anger. Perhaps he had a father who used intimidation to control the family, and the boy saw that anger equals power. Or maybe the environment was so chaotic and loud that the only way to be seen, the only way to have your needs met, was to shout louder than everyone else. Sadness was ignored. Fear was mocked. But anger made people stop and listen. Anger created space. It became his shield and his sword. It was the one tool that seemed to work. So now, when life presents him with a feeling of vulnerability, the fear of failure at work, the shame of making a mistake, the sadness of feeling disconnected from you, his entire system defaults to the only strategy that ever made him feel powerful instead of small. He doesn't know how to say, "I'm scared." He only knows how to make you scared instead. And the boy who became the avoider? He learned the most painful lesson of all. Feelings are dangerous. In his childhood home, emotional expression might have led directly to chaos. A display of sadness could have triggered a parent's anger. A moment of conflict could escalate into days of volatile fighting. He learned that the safest place to be was nowhere at all, to be invisible, to escape into books, into video games, into his own head. He became a master of dissociation, of being present physically, but absent emotionally. This wasn't a choice. It was an adaptation to an unsafe environment. So today, when you bring an intense emotion to him, his nervous system doesn't register it as an opportunity for connection. It registers it as a threat. The same alarm bells that went off when he was a terrified 7-year-old hiding in his room are going off now. His retreat into his phone or his work isn't a rejection of you. It's a desperate, instinctual flight back to the only place he ever felt safe, away from the storm. Here is the deepest, most uncomfortable truth in all of this. The wall he builds doesn't just keep you out, it keeps him locked inside. This emotional shutdown isn't a strategy for managing a relationship. It's a profound disconnection from his own humanity. By denying himself the right to feel sadness, he also mutes his capacity for profound joy. By refusing to acknowledge his fear, he blocks his ability to be truly courageous. He lives in a grayscale world, unable to access the vibrant colors of a full emotional life. He is a stranger to himself. He feels the pressure building inside, like the volcano, but doesn't know why. He feels a detached emptiness, like the Stoic, and mistakes it for peace. He feels a constant, low-grade anxiety, like the avoider, and tries to outrun it with distractions. This isn't a character flaw. It is a learned disability, taught to him by a culture that consistently fails its boys. His inability to tell you what he's feeling is secondary to a more tragic problem. Most of the time, he doesn't even know himself. The mask has been on for so long, he's forgotten the face underneath. Recognizing these patterns is the first, most crucial step. It moves us from a place of frustration and judgment to a place of understanding and maybe even compassion. So take a moment and ask yourself, which mask do you recognize most? Is it in the man you love, your father, your brother? Or maybe, if you're a man watching this, you see a flicker of your own reflection in one of these portraits. Understanding the mask is the only way to begin to see the real person behind it. I'd really appreciate it if you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Your support allows me to create more content like this to help us all understand ourselves and each other a little bit better.